Mom, Dad's got another tattoo!
On this week's episode, we get told to sit down at an Iron Maiden gig. If you buy Nando's, what do you do with a KFC? And two blokes who don't know anything about quantum mechanics argue about it for 87 minutes. Strap in as we navigate midlife. Hello and welcome to episode 18 of Mum, Dad's Got Another Tattoo, the Midlife Crisis podcast. I'm Marc and I am here with my co-host Richard.
Hello.
Hello, Richard. Now we're hoping that we have fewer technological glitches this week than we did last week. It was an utter nightmare. We recorded it on the hottest day of the year and the Gremlins had got into the internet. Not only the internet connections, but also my editing. If you were an early listener, you would have heard some of that stuff that I thought I had edited out, but actually did not.
That was a nightmare. Russell was dropping out. I was dropping out. I had to give up for the second part of the pod entirely. Yeah, not good.
So, not good. So apologies to everyone who listened to the shitty bit. I think I've corrected that now, but who knows, I'll probably introduce another issue somewhere along the line that will you can get in touch and tell me about it. Someone said, "Is it you?" and saying, "Are you there? Are you there?" for 5 minutes. Was that meant to be in there? No. It was not meant to be in there. But that person got in touch with us at dadsgotanothertattoo@gmail.com or at dadsgotanothertattoo on all social media platforms. Get in touch. We'd love to hear from you. But Rich, we need to do what we wanted to do in the last episode.
We do.
Now, before we get into that, I have reintroduced something into my life temporarily that was a massive part of our lives a few years ago, which is the lateral flow test. I ordered some.
What? Because of your trip?
No.
Or why? Why?
Because I thought I had COVID.
That's it's always the simplest answer. When you messaged me and you said lateral flow, as you said, it was such a big part of our lives. For a second, I had to go, lateral flow. Oh, yeah. Like, completely gone out of my mind.
Yeah, when I got this stuff out, I forgot how to do it. Like, how'd you do this? Like, all
we could do them in our sleep at one point.
You know, I had the little cotton bud, the little plastic tube, the rectangular testing thing.
Yeah.
And like all those things were familiar to me, but I couldn't remember how they all went together. But it soon came back. And I don't have COVID.
No. And that's weird because there's definitely something going around because my wife we had to cancel plans last weekend. She was sleeping and I was like, it could be COVID. But we're now at that stage where I'm like, well, unless you're going to get past it onto the horses, don't really worry about it. You don't see anyone barring me. Yeah. And I don't leave the house.
Well, I was tired as well, which is why... And I haven't been tired since I started my testosterone injections 9 months ago. Like, tired during the day. Just never get tired, ever. And I was really flagging for the first time. And... regular listeners will be able to hear my register is a little bit lower than it was. And I read that the new variant of whatever's going around at the moment has a hoarse voice as one of the symptoms. And you can hear that my voice...
I was just picturing a little virus with the voice of a horse.
No, I mean the little joke.
The symptoms.
You sound a little... The symptoms. But it turns out that my hoarse voice was actually as a result of singing my head off for 2 hours at Iron Maiden. So strap in, people. This is the Iron Maiden review. So what did you think going into it? Like, what were your expectations?
I mean, you hear that they still put on a good show. People say that they still put on a good show. Big BD Bruce Dickinson is nearly 70. So you look at some of the bands from our childhood that really aren't holding up these days, and you think, okay, let's go in there. I've got an open mind. I'm expecting something entertaining, but you're not expecting mind-blowing. And boy, did we get mind-blowing.
Well, I was tremendously excited because I think it's fair to say that I'm a little bit more familiar with Iron Maiden's output over the years than you were.
Yeah.
And but having said that, I mean, some people take their fandom to another level, don't they? It is their whole identity of being an Iron Maiden fan. More power to them.
It was great. I mean, everyone there, yeah, you could tell there were people there that were just beyond excited. It was unbelievable that it was a really good night. We met some people, the couple sitting next to us. They were great. They were from Oregon. Well, both now from Oregon, but the guy was originally from Colchester.
Colchester to Oregon, back to the Olympic Park in Stratford. What a journey. I would also like to, not that I've been thinking about this a lot or anything, but we had someone write in on a postcard to us who said we thought we should be sexier. She thought that we would be sexier.
Disgusting.
I'll tell you something, if you feel a bit bad about yourself, get yourself to an Iron Maiden gig. We are easily in the top 1% sexy Iron Maiden fans. I'll say that.
Wasn't a doubt. I mean, there were some bastard shoes, weren't there? There were some bastard shoes going on display there. But no, it was what a performance. What a performance that was.
It was great. And I was sent a video of Axl Rose, who's a little bit younger than Bruce Dickinson, but back in the day sings in a similar register, in that very high, and he can't really do it anymore, can he? He's sort of doing a little bit of an impression.
He can't get near it. He can't get near his... I mean, they were one of my favourite bands back in the day, and I can't watch anything, I think, from the past 15 years. It's painful.
And that was my worry, I think, with Bruce. As you say, he's 68 years old. He had throat cancer 10 years ago. It's like 2-3 weeks into the tour. So this is like show 15. And, they're not as fit and able to recover as they used to be. So what would it be like? I'll tell you what it was like. It was hot, wasn't it?
Oh, it was so hot. I think London that day was bordering on 30 degrees.
Yeah, inside it was even hotter. Not that you would know it from looking at Bruce Dickinson, lead singer.
He must have covered 5 miles that night.
Yeah, in a coat.
Every outfit he changed into was hotter than the last one. I thought he was going to come out in a North Face jacket and a ballet by the end of it.
Yeah, I mean, when I was sitting there and I was seeing these 70-year-old blokes run around on stage, I was thinking, this is basically the same temperature as a grandparent's flat anyway. And they're always a little bit chilly wearing a cardigan. Yeah. Just because he's a multi-millionaire rock star doesn't mean that he's cold bones.
No, but
need a bit of help.
I'm pleased we were sitting rather than standing because it looked hot. There was a lot of sweaty people down there.
Yeah, well, I have got problems with this.
Yeah, I know you do.
Sit down! Sit down! Being told to sit down. Fucking joke. It's an Iron Maiden concert, right? We were in the sort of second row of the seats, so still quite elevated, like decent view, right? And Number of the Beast, one of the best songs, comes on. I think that was about 4 or 5 songs into the sets, and that was it. I was up. I was pumping. I was really enjoying it.
Then the heckling started.
Yeah, then the heckling started. Sit down. I'm like, no. Do you know where you are? This is a metal gig.
I thoroughly enjoyed that, I've got to say. I thoroughly enjoyed that whole interaction.
I really, really hate it, right? It's not the first time. It's not the first time it's happened to me either, because I'm cool and interesting and relevant. I have seen Status Quo many times, and they do their sort of Wembley Arena and O2 gigs in December. Not now, only one of them's still alive. Yeah, but yeah, Caroline comes on, up I get, shoulder in,
but you've got to look at the demographic. You've got to look at
I don't care, right? Do you know, I've got 2 main issues with the sit down. Is number one, the gig that you're at. This is not Beethoven. This is not some sort of sophisticated soiree. It's Status Quo or Iron Maiden, right? So you got to have to expect a little bit of standy uppy. Also, They only care about the one person standing up in front of them. They seem fine with everyone else around the place. Absolute joke. And do you know why I also resent it? First of all, I am a little bit conscious that I am ruining someone else's experience. But also, because I'm so bloody minded, it means I stand up for longer than I want to.
Yeah.
I want it to be clear that I'm sitting down when I want to sit down.
There was a point, you did make a grand gesture of looking round and then sitting down. I thought it was hilarious. I was just bloody loved it.
Yeah, I'm really resentful of that. I believe that my air drumming performance of Run to the Hills will go down in the legend of Iron Maiden. I think I hit every beat there.
People around us were impressed, got to say. People around us were very impressed with that. The full solo, the works, it was, it was a great time.
I also like it when bands know what you come for. So I've, again, cool and interesting, I've seen Rod Stewart a number of times.
Fucking hell, Marc.
He's great. Do you know why? He plays the beginning of Maggie May twice. He kicks some footballs into the crowd, and he ends up the set with Sailing. I mean, he knows.
He gives the Billy Bunters what they want.
Yeah, none of this new album bollocks, right?
Like Dylan playing 3 hours of his new album.
Yeah, fuck that, right? We all know why we're here. And so Iron Maiden got like 20 albums, right? They released their last one about 3 years ago. I can tell you that not a song written after 1992 was played on that Saturday night. And in fact, I wanted to go and see Iron Maiden in 1992 when they headlined Donington, but I was only 13 and my mum wouldn't let me go. The set that they played the other week was probably about 3 or 4 songs different from that one.
Giving people what they want.
Giving people what they want. And I think if you played the two recordings side by side, you'd be hard pushed to know which one was in 92 and which one was recent. Such is the consistency. It was absolute.
They were phenomenal.
Brilliant.
And also, I think you're with recent events, I can see with your Rod Stewart fandom, because I believe he came out a couple of weeks ago and said, give Farage a chance. So I can see it.
Like, you know, just sing your songs and fuck off. That's... But Rod Stewart was at Glastonbury. Now, it was a similar temperature, and he came out, like Bruce, he had a velvet jacket on, although the 2 o'clock BBC broadcast had to deal with after song 2, he put the mic down, but he can still pick it up. And he said, I've got to take this jacket off, it's fucking hot up here.
You must know, you've been on stage for 60 years, right?
Yeah. But, loved the set. It included a really, really long song called Rhyme of the Ancient Mariner.
Was it 13 minutes?
Well, I'll give you a clue of how long it is in a minute. But the introduction, so of course it's based on the Coleridge epic poem of the same name about a mythical sailor that is cursed, and provides metaphysical lessons for us all through the medium of art. Or as Bruce Dickinson likes to introduce it, what not to do if a bird shits on your head. Now, this song is so long that I warned Rich about this, so he decided to go for a piss and a beer. He went for a piss and a beer. He got lost. He watched some of the gig from the wrong tier, spoke to a steward, and when he found his way back to his seat,
it was still going.
Still had 4 minutes left.
I got back and it's still going. It was unbelievable.
Yeah, awesome. I loved it. I'll tell you what I didn't love, getting out of the place, right? UK concerts have got to address this. So I went to see a band that Richard and I are probably going to go and see in December.
We are.
Sabaton.
I've bought... Sabaton. No, not them. The ones you were telling me about. Yeah.
Yeah, they're like a modern day Iron Maiden. Very cool band that sing exclusively about historic battles. So...
See, I'm intrigued. We've got to go.
My favourite song of theirs is about 1527, Sack of Rome. It's amazing.
Stop.
It's called The Last Stand.
I can only get so erect. You know, it's.
Well, I went to see them in Hamburg, and in a venue about the size of the O2 or Wembley Arena. And I went with my dad, and the gig finished. We were in the middle of Hamburg, back in our hotel 14 minutes later, because I had timed it. Because they had set it up to get people away and back in from the venue, back into town as quickly as possible. Unlike Stratford, fucking hell, how far did we have to walk in the wrong direction?
It was a joke. They made us go around where we needed to go by about a mile. I mean, there were signs in what was worrying me when I parked a car at Westfield. There were signs saying, just to let everyone know that there's a concert on at the London Stadium today. Between the hours of 9 and 11, you can expect multiple hour delays. And I said, fuck that for a game of soldiers. Let's leave before the end. Because I'm not sitting in
before the end. One song, could hear it in Fear of the Dark in the background. So I was satiated with Iron Maiden. But then the fucking walk, about 2 hours.
Just joke.
That's what... Station that way. I want to go the opposite way to the station.
No.
I'm sorry, we didn't think of that. So you got to walk basically to the station, get a train to fucking Leytonstone, get on the other back on the other side of the platform, and then you can get your car.
It was insane, absolutely insane. But we do have our second pod gig booked.
Yeah, support act Howlstorm, it led by Lizzie Hale.
What a great band. Marc mentioned to me that he wanted to get there early to see the this Howlstorm. I hadn't heard anything from them before. I think I was about 45 seconds in, and I was in.
Yeah. They're great. They are great. Great. I love a rock chick belting it out, big scream at the beginning. Excellent. But still, not as good as Iron Maiden. Greatest live band ever. That is a fact. You are bringing up Nando's. Now, I'm going to have a little confession here.
Go on. You had one?
No, fuck off. I've got principles, man, unlike you. What I did do, though, was look up to see whether there was an alternative to Nando's where you got. No, well, there aren't. No, are there?
No.
I didn't realise it's basically one of these big multiplex places, in it. And so
there's a new one that's just opened that's going to be friendship with Nando's could be over. Marc.
Ooh, I'm interested, but who's your new best friend?
Well, I tell you, it's not. It's not KFC.
Okay, I'm in for this. What's up?
So, standard routine. Drop my darling daughter at gymnastics. Down the stairs, sharp right next door Nando's. Lovely night. It's really busy. Get to the front of the queue, and the way they do it, the person that greets you and gives you a table is also doing the Deliveroos. I'm standing there for 5 minutes, 10 minutes. She ain't even turned round. There's delivery driver after delivery driver coming to the window. She's doing all the bags. So then I start huffing at that point, turning around, looking at the people behind me for a bit of solidarity, Arms start waving. Another 5 minutes goes past. I realise I'm losing my window. So I went under my breath, right, walked out the queue.
So you didn't actually say anything to the person that could do it for you?
She wouldn't have given a flying fuck anyway. She was back to me. What was I going to do? Just shout at the back of her head.
Excuse me.
I was because at that point I was like, right, let's check your customer service, Nando's, because I'm not going to say anything. You should be able to do this. Come on. And she failed miserably, so I walked out in a huff, waiting for a big line of people to follow me, and no one did. But that was by the by. So then I had a decision to make. What am I going to eat? Because I'm starving. And peek round the corner, and there she is, Kentucky Fried Chicken. Now, it's not my usual fare. And, I like these days, I eat fairly clean. I don't have many takeaways or anything. Let me just tell you this, and I understand when I say it. You don't buy a KFC, you fucking rent it. That drive home was dangerous. Within the space of 45 minutes, I thought it's never coming out the suede. It's never coming out the suede. I was in dire straits. And even Amanda said to me, I went, the fucking KFC. She went, this has happened the last I think like 2 years ago I had one, same thing. So, cannot do that again. So I've really got to rethink my choices in these situations. Nearly shit the car out. That was wonderful.
What a brilliant line. But right. Right, I think that's us done for the first half. Do you want to? I'll do a bit of intro. Do you want to mention? Do you want to talk about Russell at all?
Yeah, so we had a good friend Russell on. I'm looking forward to listening to the second half of the pod because I haven't yet, and I'm sure. And anyone's thoughts, please let us know.
Yeah, let us know. His arguments and propositions that Russell has put forward a number of times with varying degrees of pushback from us. He gets into the metaphysical. Neither of us know anything about quantum mechanics, as will become clear when we have a big argument about it.
I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to listening to this, I've got to say.
Well, I hope everyone else is...
I've had a lot of these conversations with Russell after a round of golf with a few other friends. And let me tell you something, it can get quite heated. So I'd love to know everyone else's opinions on but is it Russell? Known him since he was a kid, love him to death, one of my good friends. I'd love everyone's opinions.
Yeah, we love everyone to write in and slag him off.
That's what I'm getting, in a roundabout way, yeah.
Right, here he is. Right, so Russ, you have started up and you are talking to us from your new venture, which is called The Padded Cell. It's a great name. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what it is and what has brought you to founding this?
What is a padded cell? Without sort of going all the way back through, I'll take it on a whistle-stop tour to how I've arrived at it. Childhood was, albeit growing up in a musical family, lots of parties, lots of music, lots of good times. Also had its traumatic times. Growing up with two parents working as journeyman musicians, basically, journeyman and journeywoman musicians. Lots of alcohol dependency, in the environment of lots of alcohol, and basically that finding its way into our home and that finding its way into mine and my brother's conditioning. As you know, I had a second home. And sometimes, generally, it was down the road at Frank's, at Brian and Jean's, which was an escape. And if not yours, if not somewhere. The reason I'm planting that seed is because what that kind of instilled or conditioned into me was this getaway, escape, and escape from it and make sure that you can get away and make sure you've always got a place to be able to escape.
Now, it's interesting that you say that because, you know, I knew you very well then. We were best buds even in those days. And it's so interesting to hear you say that because, yeah, my memory of those times is still that of the child, though. I mean, It's not like when you see something as a kid and then you think back to it and you go, I see what was happening now. Yeah. I don't get that. I'm not saying this to undermine what you're saying. It's just that memory of those times has stayed pretty solid. Where you had that sort of second home, but to me it was just a place where we all met up. Rather than a sanctuary for you.
It was. And it was so convenient, wasn't it? Like when you think about for Jean and Brian, they moved down my road. They moved down our road. Frank's 8 years old. Probably, he's had two lots of open heart surgery by the year of 8. Can't go out, can't do a lot. Could play a bit of football and wanted to play a bit of football and loved to try and join in. But actually he was a kid that needed to stay in a lot because of how unwell he was. Generally, like we went over the field and we played quite a bit, but we'd unbeknown to us that any time that he was playing with us over there, he could have dropped down dead at any time with the aneurysms and stuff that he had going on. And he was an unwell child, and I guess it worked out quite well, didn't it? That I lived down that road. There'd be times. My dad would come. My dad would finish work at 4 sometimes in the afternoon. Every day, if it wasn't working, it would be in the cockpit, his car. You'd see it in the car. You'd see it in the cockpit car park. And he would come home and he would be pissed and he struggled to cope. My dad really, really struggled to cope because he lived with a tremendous amount of guilt. One day he went out basically to get a newspaper and decided to go touring around the world as a drummer and on the boats.
But when was that? That wasn't when you.
That was it. No. That was it. But he left behind 2 children. So I've got a stepbrother. I've got a stepbrother and a stepsister that are alive, but obviously don't really want anything to do with me or this family, because my dad left them at 3 and 6 years old to go and drum around the world, and met my mum and had me in bed and lived all those years carrying that burden, that guilt with him, and couldn't really cope with it behind closed doors, out and bravado. And I was taught that as a kid, taught to put on a front. And it was conditioned into me because my dad was putting on a front, because underneath all of that, the flamboyant Brian the drummer, and let's be honest, he was a lovely soul and he was a good laugh.
Yes,
he was a good giggle. Like, let's not take anything away from the flamboyant Brian was the bollocks. He was brilliant. But behind closed doors, he carried a tremendous amount of trauma bonds and guilt, I think, to how he went about it and what he did and how things went. And listen, everyone fulfills their journey for a reason. The reality of it was that it created a difficult environment for my mum to be married to him, and for us to be, me and Ben, to be, not always, but to sometimes be the son of him, because he could come home sometimes carrying that burden of guilt and emotional dysfunction with his numbing that he would use through the booze. And it would be quite traumatic in the house. It would be quite traumatic. And there was a couple of occasions when, the police were called because of me protecting Ben and my mum, because things got a little bit out of hand. And hey, look, that's life. It happened. Everything happens for a reason, and that's just sometimes what can happen in that type of environment. But where I was going with it is, my conditioning shaped that conditioning from childhood, that kind of musical family, call it sex, drugs and rock and roll lifestyle, living with, one day the parents are there, the next day, living with nan and granddad, the next day down at Frank's, the kind of like the about getting used to abandonment, getting used to, Jane and Brian's taking, Frank's dad's taking him to Arsenal and taking me. Where's my dad? Oh, he's playing golf, or he's drumming, or he's doing, and he was doing things that he just wanted to do to be social and do things for his life. But it set a conditioning in me, I think, that I took into adolescence and I really struggled with. And if it wasn't for my apprenticeship, and Cliff Longman gave me an opportunity and an outlet to be something.
Well, I do remember, like, one thing that has always marked your career is work ethic. Right, there's absolutely no doubt about it. Like, hardest working kid you'll ever meet. Like, paper rounds, milk rounds, car cleaning, all the sort of stuff that you would do for
anything
a bit
for
of
a pound
extra
note.
Pocket money. Yeah. Well, I wouldn't say, but it's not like anything, right? I wouldn't say there was no, it was all very honest.
There was penny for the guy. Every seasonal thing we did, there was penny for the guy. There was fucking carol singing. If we took Frank carol singing, for fuck's sake.
Yeah, so I think it gave that. So it's interesting that work ethic was. Where do you think that came from?
It definitely came from my mum.
Yeah, all right. Okay, I was
definitely.
Gonna say, if your dad didn't have that sort of role model, well, he was a role model, but it was one that you appear not to have followed.
Not in its entirety. Like, there's bits of my dad that I 100% followed. My dad, he was, when my dad did put his mind to something, his drumming, his electrical engineering, his business, when he did put his mind to something and he wanted to go for something, he was brilliant. He could make anything happen. I mean, he had a business working, rewinding motors at one point for Pan Am and Rolls Royce, and an amazing. But he was broken inside. He was broken inside, and back then we kept calm and carry on, and we British stiff upper lip was what it was, what we lived in. And so he had to man up and get on with it, because that's what happened. And I think when you look at my mum, she travelled the world from 21 years of age as the lead cabaret artist and lead cabaret act on the QE2. Her agent was Joan Collins' auntie. She was thrust into the show business world of London, whether it had been Ronnie Scott's, she played brilliant places, Blackpool Tower. She was a little bit on the telly. And so that so Pauline Marks was her name. So Pauline Marks instilled into my mum from a very, very young age. Post my my grandma instilling into my mum from an even younger age. Hard work, performance, and make it happen. And my mum, always remember my mum, if I wanted the trainers, my mum would say to me, well, Dad's not working at the moment, we can't afford them. So you get a milk round, get a paper round, get whatever you need. If you want those trainers, you're going to need to contribute. And I learned at a very, very young age. I think my first paper round was at the age of 9. Yeah. I used to pull. I used to pull round the Sunday supplements on my fucking skateboard. I made a trolley out of my skateboard, because if I tried to put the Sunday, I had to get the Sunday round in 2 halves. Because I was actually, even though I was 9 and I was a big boy, I was quite a chubby kid. Let's be honest. If I put that on one bag, that would have pulled me flat onto the floor. So I put it on my skateboard and pulled it around. And so work ethic was always in me, but the trauma bonds that came with that childhood grew into my adolescence, grew into my survival mode instincts, along with alcohol dependency, along with the ability to know how to escape, to becoming quite an artist at being able to escape situations or escape emotions, escape low feeling and low calibrating emotions. And I think that led into always a will and a want to be enough, to feel enough in myself. I think I had an ego that was very overprotective of Russ. We know how competitive I was as a kid when we used to go over the fields playing football. We know how competitive I was as a youngster. And it kind of instilled itself into me as this, I guess I can only put it down as this human journey that was kind of a lived experience for me and in my consciousness that was meant to be. And
right, hold on, I'm going to stop you there. Right.
Yeah.
What does that mean? That specific phrase, the human journey.
Yeah. That was meant to be. Yeah.
Yeah, because I'll tell you what, I should say to listeners, this is not the first time I've heard this from Russell, but probably the first time we've had a proper chat about it. I think that's fair. And what you're describing there is just life, right? And
correct.
Right, but there's a sort of, with the the human journey and what will be, and that sort of, what I resist about that is that it sort of removes the agency from people to make their own decisions, because rather than them making decisions, there's some sort of bigger universal power directing you. So whenever you fuck up or whatever, that's fine, because it wasn't actually me, it was the universe guiding me through this journey, giving me lessons like he's fucking dungeon master. And it sort of creates this quasi spiritual get out of jail free card.
Yeah, jail free card. Yeah, I get why you're saying that. So this human life is what, 90 years if we're lucky. 100 maybe. If you're Brian Johnson, 150.
Well, he wants it to be infinite.
Infinite.
You're not ambitious enough for his liking. His thing is don't die.
Yeah, exactly. We're not dying. Listen, the human being is always going to die. The human being is definitely always going to die, and the human being has a protective mechanism built into it that was here a long, long time before the prefrontal cortex and our ability to have consciousness and the gift of free will. And that is our survival mode instincts as a human being. And those survival mode instincts are what were here first in us. And when we evolved from Homo erectus to Neanderthal to Homo sapien to Homo sapien sapien, which is what we are today, we formed our prefrontal cortex. And with the forming of our prefrontal cortex comes free will, comes compassion, comes choice, comes the ability for human being, Homo sapien, to have a connection through the soul, through the spirit of the human being, through the character of the human being, in the human being, and connected to this universe. And
I've got big problems with this. I've got big problems.
I know you have.
Because this is like religion without the difficult
it's not religion.
bits.
It's not religion.
Well, it kind of is, because you're sort of disconnecting you who you are fundamentally from the skin and bone within which it is encased. Now that's fine from a very metaphysical point. Fine,
only one part of it.
But see, this is the thing. You are stating with a degree of certainty as well that you do find in the religiously converted that there is something separate and something out there. Now, you may believe that, and if that gives you solace, and if getting down in front of the Virgin Mary and lighting a candle gives someone else a bit of peace in their life, great. I'm all for it. I don't want to do it. But what I don't like is when it is presented as a fact. This is what is happening. And it undermines the rest of the very powerful message that we're talking about.
Let me take you through the journey, and then you decide at the end. There's no doubt that over the years, and you're going to recognise this. How many times did you bring me home to my front door drunk? One particular time with no eyebrows.
Yeah, there were a number of times. Which again, I'm looking back now with slightly different eyes because of what you've told me. But at the time, it was like 18, 19-year-old kids out on the piss. Having a bit of a laugh and every now and then they had some consequences that weren't actually, they weren't serious. It was, some bigger boys shaved your eyebrows off once. And
how many times? So answer this then. How many times did you? And don't get me wrong, we all got battered. We all did have our moments. But how many times did you stand at your front door with a mate, turning the key to let you in the front door with no eyebrows on your head?
Never.
Right. And how many times, and I know, but how many times did you turn up outside your house and your mum and your dad have had to come down to the taxi to get you out because you are absolutely comatose and out of it?
Well, they didn't. But I had a built-in advantage, which is that as we've spoken about previously, and I've mentioned on a previous episode as well, I had I didn't realise at the time, loads of anxiety when I was at that age. So midway through the night, I'd be sick. I'd be sick. So all that booze would go. So I couldn't get that pissed.
You couldn't get that pissed. So you were always able to get rid of yours, get a shot of yours.
Yeah, thank you, anxiety. Brilliant.
Every cloud and that.
Yeah.
So, but what the point I'm making is this. And do you remember always remembering me being tired?
Yes.
Always remember me being like, who was the one who always fell? We get pizza.
Always fall asleep. Yeah.
Always fall asleep.
But I'll put that down to the fact that you had been up since 5 o'clock in the morning working your balls off.
Yeah, I think there was an element of that. I do think, but I was still always tired. I was always the one, like if I had drink or I had booze or I had a cup, we went out, like you'd find me, I think I fell asleep in Fifth Avenue, I fell asleep in the island, I fell asleep in the park, I fell asleep in the field, I fell asleep standing up once and fell over. Like it was one of it. But the point I'm saying is what I came to realise later on in life and what started me off on this journey was starting to understand a little bit more about myself. And when I say understanding a little bit more about myself, understanding myself from the inside out. So I always used to have a term in RSE and in business all the way through the years when there was a bit of stress going on, there was something going on. I'm just going to go and lock myself in my padded cell and I'm going to go and run into the walls for half an hour. And I'll be out in a bit and we'll get on with what we're going to do. And it was just kind of a contextual joke that I always used to have. But actually, I think what it boiled down to and what I came to find was that actually I did need a safe space to go inside. Because when I was first shown inside, or I was kind of directed to, this is how to take a look at your ego, this is how to understand your ego, this is how to understand calibrated level of emotion and how it can debilitate you as a human being, whether it be through projection and then converted into feeling, or whether it be purely from just feeling. There can be either or, a debilitating effect on our existence. And it will have a debilitating effect on our energy, and it will have a debilitating effect on how we carry ourselves and our psyche in this world, in survival mode, getting through it, being human beings as we are.
So, right, let me stop there, because there's a lot there I want to unpack. First of all, I don't really understand this term calibrated emotion. What's calibrated emotion?
Calibrated levels of emotion.
Yeah.
So calibrated levels of emotion. Every human being has them. If I said to you that there was a league table of emotions that a human being can feel, and there's actually a lowest and there is actually a highest. And not only are there highest and lowests, there are many different areas that we exist, that society exists in, that prevent us from moving in a upward trajectory. And there are many that exist in society that enable us to move in a downward trajectory. And a calibrated level of emotion creates a calibrated level of consciousness.
Yeah, but I don't understand what any of this means, because we all have what that's if I could unpack it for a second, what I'm hearing is that sometimes we feel happier, sometimes we feel sad. Happier is when we've got more energy and able to act more presently or more consistently with how we want to do that, but that doesn't happen in its isolation. You have if everyone else around you, society, has got these issues as well, you are going to have to deal with that negative energy as well, or positive if it's there, right? Is that accurate?
Okay. Sort of. Let me give you an example. You have a desire, so you would use a calibrated level of desire for this.
Right, what's calibrated? I don't understand what this calibrated level is.
Let me explain. Let me explain it to you. So you would have a desire to make Mum, Dad's got another tattoo. One of the biggest podcasts in the world.
Yep, that is accurate.
Would you?
Yeah,
that's accurate. Because you've said it. I know it's accurate because you've said it. Right. Okay. And if you got that, if that happened, you would feel proud.
Maybe, yeah.
You'd have some pride. You'd feel some pride. I think you'd feel pride. Yeah,
that is accurate.
You'd feel pride. Right. Okay, that's accurate. Okay. And you would feel pride naturally, as a human being, you'd want to feel more and more pride because you've done a great thing. You've created a great thing that people talk about by way of this podcast. And so your psyche, your ego will become quite protective of your pride becoming hurt. Would you agree?
I don't know, really. It depends.
Well, it's really. So if you've got dad's got another tattoo, as you, is all over the world. Is listened all over the world. And someone comes along and says, "Really sorry, Marc, but dad's got another tattoo, can't continue for whatever reason, whatever the reason might be." You'd be quite protective over that, I reckon.
Yeah, I think I'd accept that.
Yeah, you'd be quite protective, and you'd be quite protective over that out of a calibrated level of fear.
Stop saying calibrated without telling me what it means. Calibrated, right? Because what you're doing, right? Let me say, you're explaining things.
Yeah, okay.
I've asked you what calibrated level of ... means. Right?
Okay, let me explain to you what that is.
Right. I don't know what calibrated level of, because every time you say you'd explain it, you come out with another calibrated level of something else, and I don't know what that means.
Okay, right, here we go. So, what does calibrated level mean? We've got a conscious and we've got a subconscious. Our subconscious is sensing emotions as much as our conscious is as well. When we sense a particular emotion, that calibrates at a particular level.
What does he mean, calibrated? I don't know what that means.
So when it settles at a particular level, it recognises or becomes aware and is conscious of a particular level. So if I said to you the lowest level of human emotion that can be felt, or the lowest in the table, is shame, quickly followed by guilt, quickly followed by hopelessness and apathy. The lowest calibrated level of emotion that a human being can feel is shame. The next calibrated level of human emotion that can be felt is guilt. The next one that can be felt after that is apathy and hopelessness. And it works its way up this table. You've then got grief, fear, anger, desire, pride. I think I've missed a couple out. I might have missed one or two out on the lower. And then you reach a neutral point which is the trajectory up, which is courage, calibrated level of courage. So courage enables us to defang the ego, enables us to not have such a protective ego protecting us against dad's got another tattoo being taken off air.
So if I had defanged the ego, someone says to me for reasons...
Yes.
Are these reasons justified or not? Objectively, the cessation of the podcast is actually for the good, but I'm just trying to... I know this is like a thought experiment.
Yeah, sure.
Right? But if I have defanged the ego and have courage, and someone says this can't continue, my reaction to that is, yeah, all right.
Yeah, your reaction to that is going to still be human. Your response to that is subconsciously, because your condition is still going to be a human response. And that might be fear, anger, some of that being felt for a second. But you know it's being felt. So the place that you would actually want to get to is you've got the courage to understand that yourself, and you know your ego, and you know how it works. But the place that you'd really would want to be at would be neutrality. Is that
so I don't care
my
one
pride
way or
is
another?
Yeah, it can stay or it can go. Or acceptance. Acceptance is a higher calibrating level of emotion. So acceptance sits at 3 levels above courage. So you've got courage, neutrality, willingness, acceptance. And acceptance is, I've accepted that this is going to happen. I'll go again, or I have the courage to start again. I have the courage to go and do whatever I need to again, or not. I've got a desire for more or a lust for more, and that lust for more feeds my pride, and my ego is fanged and protecting me against hurt pride, because I'll feel humiliated and shamed if I don't have my podcast anymore. Just as an example, I'm not saying it'd be like that, but it's just an example.
No. Right, it's a good way of framing it. So because my pushback against that is that as you rank these emotions, you have some sort of neutrality, some sort of acceptance right at the very top. But right
at the very top is enlightenment.
Right, so we're talking like some sort of pseudo Buddhist framework.
No, this is scientifically proven.
It's not scientifically proven. It's not scientifically proven. It's not scientifically proven. It is it's incapable of scientifically proving this.
It's quantum mechanics.
Right. Stop right there. It's not fucking quantum mechanics, right? I think you fundamentally misunderstand what quantum mechanics is.
Go on, what's your description of what quantum mechanics is?
So quantum mechanics, to my mind, is the interaction of atoms, of units of atoms at the subatomic level, and at which some weird stuff happens. Like, so, for example, it's so sensitive that the act of observing subatomic particles actually impacts the results that you get. Or, for example, that quantum mechanics can predict the position of those subatomic particles. And now I'm right at the edge of what I know about it. The sort of woo bit of it is that those particles can exist in two separate spheres or two separate places. And if that can happen, and we are all made up of these subatomic particles, maybe we can exist in two separate spheres. I fail to see how that is the application here.
Well, we're made up of electromagnetic energy as human beings. So our neurologic system, pathways, existence, energy as human beings, consciousness as human beings is made up of electromagnetic energy. And we also have a mechanism of, I'm going to say that again. We also have muscles in our body that are intrinsically linked to our energy centers, which are intrinsically linked to our emotion.
What is right? So let's stop. Right, what is an energy center in this? Because I feel like, right, fine, right. But I find these things often get blown by. And it sounds all very spiritual and deep and everything, but to my ears, it sounds quite shallow, unhelpful, and at worst, I think it's going to undermine the work that you actually want to do.
But if I go into this level of depth, it possibly will. Look, I suppose one of the most challenging parts of, if you like, explaining it is that we're not, like, I've learned, so I've studied and learned, and I will say, like, it is quantum mechanics. It actually is.
It's not, but let's...
I know you're going to say it's not, but it's fine. It's okay. I like the fact that you say it's not. It's good. We won't go in. That's massive. I'm not going into that now. We're not going to go into quantum mechanics.
What I want you to do, I want you to explain this by making it more simple. Yeah. And every time I ask you to explain something, you don't make it more simple. You make it more complicated. So So the idea was to saying calibrated levels of whatever it is. It just sounds like there's a league table of emotions, and then within those emotions there's like some other league table, and we want to be as high up the league in all these emotions as we can possibly be. Is that what you mean by calibrated?
We want to be aware. We want to be aware of where we are. We don't understand as human beings how to understand ourselves, because we're not conditioned in how to understand ourselves, because our parents weren't conditioned in that and their parents weren't conditioned in that. But evolution is taking us to a place where human connection is becoming less because of the externally validating attributes that come from social media.
Well, I find
And
this like
therefore,
misunderstands evolution. Evolution happens over thousands and thousands of generations.
It
Like,
does.
we're not that.
So
we're not any more evolved than the knights sitting around King Arthur's table. We're not any more evolved.
Do you not think?
Now, our societal changes? No, of course not.
How long goes King Arthur's table?
Well, like sort of that's mythical, but what I'm talking is like sort of 1066. So I'm just using 2,000 years as a base. Like over the last 2,000 years, my contention is human beings have not evolved. They've not evolved at all. There's been no evolution whatsoever.
I would disagree that in 2,000 years, I think human beings, if you take what used to be by way of, if you like, slaves, for example, enslavement, if you talk about
that's right. First of all, that is societal. That is societal. There's nothing biologically or physical that has changed about human beings in all that time, right? And if you think there's not slavery in now, you're wrong.
Do you think that they've not? Do you think that the human being has not evolved physically in its capabilities?
No.
In 2,000 years?
At all. No, not in the slightest.
So, like, what with regards to its enhancement of its capabilities? So, for example, the 4-minute mile, putting a man on the moon.
Yeah, that's not evolution. That is a development of technology to allow
the man is using its mind to develop.
Yes, things are developing and progressing. None of it is evolution in the Darwinian sense of it. And let's take the 4-minute mile, for example. 4-minute mile for a long time was seen as some sort of impossible barrier. Right, and Roger Bannister did it in like 1952 or 1954, whenever it was. And then in the weeks and months after that, loads of people did the 4-minute mile. Did they all suddenly evolve? No, it's just because mentally we now understood that this was possible, and like the mental barrier dropped away. Human beings have not evolved.
So this is my question to you. Do you not think then? So this is my question to you. So if you took, for example, like that evolvement. If that 4-minute mile had never been run, do you think that human beings would have believed that they could have done a 4-minute mile?
Well, someone that believes that they can do something, and eventually somebody is right, but it's not.
Is that not evolution?
Not in the Darwinian sense that you're referring to. No, it's not. It's just progress and evolution. Like evolution is.
Okay.
Right, you could say, society is evolving, as in it's changing, right? Yeah, but that is more of a synonym. If you're talking about actual evolution in the Darwinian sense, that there are changes.
Do you mean by changes in the human features, in the human being?
Yeah, exactly. So, I think moths, for example, that's always a good example, is that lots of moths used to be brown, and the mutations would be grey, right? And eventually, that turn to moths are grey and mutations are brown because its habitat changed from wood to concrete. I'm simplifying this massively, but to show that is what evolution means, is that there's some sort of genetic mutation that occurs that fits better the habitat that surrounds it. And we don't have that. There's no mutations that that human beings, either biologically or physically, like we haven't got an extra toe, we haven't, that sort of thing, right? Skin colour hasn't changed.
We haven't got extra muscle. We haven't grown. We're not. No. So if I said to you, I'll give you a time. I'll give you a time in evolution. So us moving from, if you like, what I said earlier, from Homo erectus to Homo sapien. Homo erectus. Yeah. Right. Okay.
Right. That counts.
So, okay. So physically, throughout humanity, in like take the last 2,000 years, we have not I wouldn't say we've grown anything more by way of our features. We're still that same Homo sapien, but our ability to, and I use the you're going to love me using this word, our ability to calibrate our muscles.
What does that mean?
You still
haven't. What does calibrating our muscles mean? See how big they are?
No, like fine-tuning them. Fine-tuning the body, fine-tuning the human, the ability to tune the human body by way of going to the gym, by way of running 100 meters in under 10 seconds, by way of running the 4-minute mile, by way of all of anything that we set in physical world records, that by being Lionel Messi and scoring God knows how many goals. How many goals did he score?
I don't know, over 1,000, but that's not a something anything to do with evolution.
What I'm saying is that physically, but no one done it before.
Yeah, but that is because society technologically is progressing, and so there is a number of effects of that.
Correct.
First of all, more people are participating in sport because they're free to do so. That is a societal thing.
Right.
The people that we're talking about,
so
like Usain Bolt or whatever. No, it's not evolution. It's not evolution. It's progress. It's progress through, but it can be fueled by evolution because, of course, the food that we're eating and growing has genetically changed. No, not exactly. I'm contradicting what you're saying.
I know what you're saying.
But human beings themselves have not. And I'm talking about Darwinian evolution, where a genetic mutation pulls in then as well. Because I was thinking, obviously, about the Black Death, but there, because all the people that survive. No, the reason why I stopped is because. Well,
so that's an interesting time.
When the bubonic plague was about, all the people that survived that were probably genetically more predisposed to resist the fatal consequences of that. Now, you have me considering, does that count as evolution? Because because evolution is about the survival of the genetic line, right? And what best fits the environment.
Yeah, it absolutely is. Yeah,
but we didn't have two different species of humans, and one one out over the other. It was some people were
evolved.
It didn't evolve. It didn't evolve.
What didn't evolve? Sorry, I misunderstood you. What didn't evolve?
Well, I'm trying to.
Maybe I misunderstood. I thought you were talking about from Homo erectus. If we went like Homo erectus, Neanderthal, Homo sapien, we didn't one day go Homo erectus. So you're not Homo erectus anymore. You're Neanderthal. Well, you're not Neanderthal.
Actually, that's a very interesting point, because there must have been a parent that was. In fact, I'm not even sure this is how the actual evolution takes place, whether Neanderthal...
We don't even know if evolution even definitely happened this way.
No, or the evolution of human beings, whether it was Neanderthal going into, Homo sapiens, or whether there were, separate lines, one of which was able to outcompete the others to survive in greater numbers. That is evolution.
Yeah, that's quite possible. Yeah.
Right. And that is what I'm talking about. Right. When you say evolution, is that just society changes, and that is not evolution, because there's no movement genetically that best fits this environment.
So much
because it doesn't happen over, because the way you're talking about it's happening over too short a time span for the old traits to die out and the new ones to outcompete it. It happens over many, many thousands of years.
Let me ask you something. Have you ever, and I don't know if you've ever used one or not, have you ever used any kind of form of meditation?
Yes.
Have you ever used any meditation apps, to go to sleep at night?
Sometimes. I normally use YouTube, but...
So you use a bit of YouTube. So you fall asleep listening to YouTube?
Most of the time.
And when you're listening to YouTube, are you fixated in exactly what you're listening to, or you're in and out?
Well,
you're kind of listening
I
or something.
deliberately select the material so that when I lose... when it stops gaining my attention so much, it doesn't draw it back.
Yeah. So you select material on that basis. So you know what you're selecting. If it carries on playing and you've lost consciousness or you're asleep, that's okay.
So,
that's how you select it. You would select it with that in mind. That's really interesting. You select it with that in mind. That's really interesting. So, and then when you lose consciousness of it, what do you think's happening with that ongoing playing that's going on?
That is a good question. I don't know the answer to that. I have toyed with hypnosis, going to sleep to that, which, you know, I'm open to the idea that is working. I'll tell you what I haven't done when I've done it. Learnt Spanish. You know, this idea that you can put fucking lessons on and wake up some sort of multilingual genius.
Your subconscious is going to learn Spanish and then you're going to wake up speaking it.
Yeah. I mean, I've tried it. Don't get me wrong. It's better than actually fucking learning, isn't it? But
I can't blame you for trying it.
I'm open to the idea that hypnotic stuff works to but the problem with deciding whether any of this works is that there are so many other variables in your life that you can never isolate whether that is the one thing that's changing.
I'm only interested in talking to you right now about two things, and that's your conscious and your subconscious.
So just everything about me. That's like saying I've only got two problems with you: everything you say and everything you do.
Yeah. So do you think that you're in communication with your subconscious?
Yeah, of course. But
okay, and how conscious and aware of it are
conscious, you? Not very conscious, because it's
not very. So not very.
Because
that's cool. That's fine.
Because by definition,
right.
Your subconscious is beneath the level of consciousness. Yeah, okay. But I'm aware there is stuff bubbling under there that pokes itself up in various times and places to varying degrees of helpfulness to what I want to achieve.
Okay, so let me ask that. So you know, yesterday I was listening to episode 16, and you mentioned in there about different archetypes that we can play out, that can be played out, or an archetype of someone or a film or a character, or you've spoken about it quite a bit over. Dad's got another tattoo. So if I said to you that your subconscious was made up of a plethora of archetypes that exist as the character of your soul, what would you say?
Well, I would agree.
What would you say to me?
I would agree. Well, I would say that's true until we talk about the soul. I want you to, I don't believe in some sort of separate
spirit
entity to me. No, don't believe in any of that.
Okay, let's call it call it your character then. Let's just call it your character.
Yeah. So all the things that make up
call it your character. Forget the soul a minute. Just call it your character.
Yeah. Because just for clarity, that only exists as far as I, as a physical specimen, exist. But so
correct.
Bubbling underneath that is, a group of, your multiple personalities are under there, all vying for precedent.
Yeah, and we go through stages of like the trickster, the joker, the sage, the wise, the hero, the mother, the father, the nurturer, the innocent. And we kind of flip between. It's like a graphic equalizer. And you could possibly go and pick nearly every character that you can think of as ever existed. And some you'll have absolutely no relationship to them at all, but there'll be parts where your character will have a relationship to that. And they are the characters that are made up through the imagination of film directors, George Lucas, James Cameron and Terminator. All of the films that have been made are all the imagination of a producer, director, a film director, being able to think of character and be able to go, I'm going to portray that character. Because I possibly can't portray that in my everyday life because that would be accepted in society, but I can portray it through a film and I can get someone to stand behind me. I can get that as a film. Well, we, as our everyday existence, have a character that we're portraying in our everyday existence and in what we go about every day of our life. And what we also have alongside that is this survival mode mechanism called the ego that is protecting and serving and preserving the survival of that human being. So you've got your character, and you've got this protective mechanism. And this protective mechanism is has been around a lot longer and is a lot more powerful than this character. And so this becomes more fanged.
The ego.
More fanged, the lower the levels of calibration that it exists at. This drives the courage and the neutrality and the acceptance and the joy and the love and the peace and the enlightenment by overwhelming the ego. Sometimes even when it's overwhelmed, this is going to get fanged and go, well, I'm fucking angry and I'm going down to wherever to go and sort this out. Sometimes the character can go, hold on a minute, you don't need to do that. It doesn't matter if it's that and it doesn't matter if it's that. So you use neutrality or use whatever. It doesn't matter. Leave it. Other times it'll be the person can't, or whoever it may be, can't leave it because they slip back into that lower calibrated level of emotion. Because their ego is protecting them, they're not even aware. They can't even say, I'm in control of this, because they're not in control of it. Because it's their subconscious. The ego has taken over. The ego is making sure that this human being is going to survive. And it might be fight and it might be flight. But the reality of it is, and this is where I was going with why the padded cell, why what we're doing. We're not conditioned. We don't understand this. This isn't me saying that this is a absolute fact, because there are lots of different interpretations. You mentioned Buddhism earlier. Buddhism has got an interpretation of it that's not the same as that, but it arrives at a similar answer. Religion, however, has duality attached to it.
What do you mean by duality?
Right or wrong.
Understood.
Heaven and hell, good and bad, whatever the opposites.
Yeah. Right.
This
Understood.
or that. This or that. Quantum mechanics and consciousness is non-linear.
What does that mean?
It doesn't have it. There is no me. There is just I.
What the fuck?
There is a self. It means that thing. So think of it. When you record this back, you'll ever listen to this. So me talking about me is ego. I talking about self is character. They have a massive difference between the two of them. So the separate. They're one. They're one inside of me. I know you get tired of this. You don't know this, but they're one inside of me. And where I'm going with this is that we don't know. We haven't worked out. Religion is not it. Duality, saying something is right or wrong is not it. Saying it's heaven and hell is not it. But by us having the courage to feel safe, to go inside ourselves and to understand ourselves, understand our conscious behaviours, understand our subconscious traits and our archetypes and what in our conditioning. So I mentioned to you earlier about that childhood conditioning. Well, it took me to 43 years of age to rail and derail on booze and high functioning work and business partners and, let's be honest, me and my marriage. I mean, there's so many things. Railing, derailing, emotionally different, right, wrong, good, bad, ego protecting, living with protecting against humiliation, protecting against shame, fear of business, fear of losing the business, hopelessness sometimes. Desire for more, desire to knock down my house and rebuild it, desire for more, desire for nice cars, pride by having that more, pride in my house, pride in my nice cars, ego protecting against hurt pride, ego's protecting against shame, protecting against fear. It goes round and round and round in this cycle until such time that we start to recognize how fanged the ego can be, how and this isn't everybody, but how we have an ability as human beings to suppress and to escape our true emotions. We're conditioned in doing that from childhood by our parents, and that's not a purposeful act. It's just something that happens.
Yeah, but I don't feel like I fit this model.
I don't. I think there's quite a possibility you're never going to fit the same model as mine.
No, but that's
because mine is mine,
but
yours
let's say
is
you're
yours.
presenting it is like we're conditioned to do this, that, and the other. I feel very, people can dispute this.
We were all conditioned different. No, when I say we're conditioned, your conditioning with Gene and Tony wasn't in a musical family. Wasn't in the same environment that I was in from an emotional perspective, for example.
No.
Right. Okay. So your learning as a child, your sponge and absorption as the age of 6 to 10, we're sponges. We're asking questions all the time. That is your ancestral part of your ancestral conditioning, and you would have been asking at school, which would have been your societal conditioning. You'd have at home, which would have been your mum and dad. You'd had in your football team if you went and played with your mates, if you went and had a football team, which I think you did at quite a young age, and you'd have had what you got from school. And those three areas would have shaped you. And your reason, your journey shaped you in a way of team spirit. I'm sure it wasn't perfect all the time, but, loving the home. Mum and dad would take you to football. Mum would come and watch. But your conditioning would be different to my conditioning. And that's where I come from when I talk about it. I'm not saying we're all conditioned the same, because we can't. We're never all conditioned the same.
Like, where does that leave us? We've got this ego that is protecting us, but to some extent, it's doing a good job of that, isn't it?
Yeah, we're surviving. So we have evolved.
We haven't.
It's done a good job. It's done a good job to now. We've evolved. We have. Darwinian wise, and whatever you want to call it wise, physically, we have evolved to be able to be sitting here right now, me and you, having this conversation. Right.
Okay, but then there's a big so what at the end of this.
Where are we going? So, what at the end of this? Right, okay. Well, so there's a measure of society so when the Berlin Wall came down and Russia split up from being the USSR to being all of the multi-states now that form all of that part of Europe. And Ronald Reagan and President Gorbachev signed a peace treaty agreement and to basically end the Cold War. And Rocky IV was made. to just cement that.
Well, I thought it was Rocky's defeat of Ivan Drago that did end the war.
I think it was. I think it was him that got Gorbachev to say.
If I can change, you can change. We can all change.
Anyway, we can all change. Yeah, and Drago sent to prison for losing. But listen, that's not the point. That instigated for the first time and I'm going to use the term, and I know you don't know, but in our human evolution, if you take all of the averages of the calibrated levels of existence in society, and there is a science behind this, and it's measured by a guy called David Hawkins. David Hawkins measures this. He's measured it. He's got a whole league table of it, and there's a book called Power versus Force, and in there it's determined how he measures it.
I know, but you've just accepted that this is fine. No, let's stop there for a second.
No,
right?
I'm not.
Those things are unmeasurable.
Yeah.
They're unmeasurable.
Okay. Well, then they're kind of not. But yeah, okay, I understand why you would say it and why you're saying. For the first time, when that happened, when that peace treaty deal was signed, we moved in humanity to the level of 207.
Fuck off. This is such bollocks, right? I'll tell you why. It is bollocks, and I'll tell you why it's bollocks, right? It's because this is highly Eurocentric fucking nonsense, right? It's utter fucking rubbish.
What? Go on, please explain to me.
Right, because, right, humanity, we've still got people in sub-Saharan Africa, like we're talking 1990s, right? So China, for instance, is only like 10 years past that sort of emergence as an economic thought. Nowhere near it. India's only just beginning. Sub-Saharan Africa is 4 years removed from Bob Geldof going round there as well. Yeah. And what you're saying is that a small fragment, and it is a small percentage of the world's population, had a sudden increase in perceived freedom, and then the whole of humanity's score went upwards. Now, that's why it seems so. Like, why you're talking, I believe if you lived in East Germany or in East Berlin, your life got quite a lot better. Although maybe not. Yeah. But in the aggregate, maybe individually not. Right? I can accept that. Let me ask you a question. I can accept that, right? But how can you apply that to humanity? Most people... Yeah, go on. No, ask the question.
Let me ask you a question. Would you... where it comes from, Marc, is like, it's the perception of human being to human being connection. It's the perception of the world. Like, if I've got part of the world blocked off for communism...
But it's not half the world. That's not half the world.
No, it wasn't. No, but I'm saying part, not half the world. Part of Europe.
Yeah.
Part of Europe, right?
Yeah.
What I've got is a situation. 89, right? 89. Berlin Wall came down, and Reagan and Gorbachev, I think in 88 or 89, around that time, that's when they signed the peace treaty agreement. Well, the whole world's attitude towards war and towards fear and towards all of the lower calibrating levels of emotion that we've spoken about earlier changed with that change, with that signing of that. Security.
I don't accept that. I don't accept that for a second. I don't accept that for a second.
People, you don't accept it for a second. Why don't you accept it for a second?
No, because... Well, you just mentioned one of the reasons. Like, less than 2 years later, we've got a massive land civil war in the heart of Europe. Well, not heart of Europe, but like that is why. Right? I've actually heard this before. Actually, the post
was there the threat. Was there the threat of the world of humanity wiping itself out with that war?
Yeah, in fact, it was not that war, but the
Milosevic. No, I'm talking about there wasn't.
No. But there was a heightened degree of danger because one of the world's superpowers in possession of nuclear weapons had just disintegrated, and so instead of rational state actors being in control of this, with the idea of mutually assured destruction as a defense mechanism against nuclear Armageddon, we've now got gangsters possibly in control of nuclear material. So. No, I don't.
In your view, do you think the break of the USSR?
I don't think the world was in any safer position post the falling of the Berlin Wall as previous to it. If anything, it increased the danger because now you had this entire new paradigm. Now, of course, there was optimism with what's his name? I'm going to say Fukuyama's end of history, like the political opposition between free world, communism, etc. was over. And we have since seen that was a complete load of bollocks, right? It isn't, right? And we're basically probably in a worse position than we've ever been right now.
Exactly. So you just said it. So you just said it right.
So you said, right, what you got?
The calibrated level of consciousness in humanity rose for the first time above 200, which is courage.
Right, first of all, I'm disputing that. Right, first of all, I'm disputing even the possibility that it rose. And secondly, I don't even think this fucking measurement has got any scientific validation whatsoever.
And
you just say,
understand that you might not.
It's not...
No, look, I would.
It was 194, but now it's
understand.
207. It's a load of fucking shit, and I'm not having it.
I actually love the fact that you say it, because this is the whole point of it. So, in more recent times, we have reached the point again where human beings could, is more likely, if you like, the doomsday clock, the doomsday hand is nearer to it. And that doomsday hand is the measure of, if you like, how human beings feel, how they exist, about their survival.
Right, but this is the thing why I'm resistant to this. When you say human beings, what you mean are white, middle class, North Europeans. Because for the vast majority of the world,
life is anywhere in the world,
much more difficult, much more dangerous. No, but it always has been. It always has been. That is the point. We're now more acutely aware of the impact of war. What do you think? There's been world peace since 1990, and things have started to kick off again. No, they haven't. What's happening
there hasn't.
Is that the richer parts of the world are suddenly seeing what that actually means on their doorstep, whether that means refugees coming across the channel, coming across the Mexican border. That is all a result of global instability that has been there in these people's lives basically forever. It's never changed. And then for us to say, oh, look, the whole world's a little bit sadder now. No, it's been like that for fucking ages, and now it's knocking you on the door, right? And that is why I feel a little bit more passionate.
Knocking on the door. Where do you say it's
the
knocking
migrant
on the door?
crisis in mainland Europe and in North America is a result of both, whatever stage of capitalism that we're at, the climate change, resource scarcity, right? But for those people, it has always been acute. It's always been acute. They weren't sitting around talking bollocks on podcasts. They were fighting for their very survival from their very first breath that they took. Right? Just because, out of what? Why? Why do they deserve that? Just because they had the bad luck to pop out in the wrong bit of space and time, right? And that's it. But we know about that because, Michael Burke did all the Ethiopia appeals. We all have a big concert where, Freddie Mercury does a turn or whatever it is nowadays. And we think we're doing something about it. And we were doing basically nothing. Right?
No.
So why
are we doing
that
nothing?
Difficult to accept? Well, because it's easier not to. This is the path of least resistance. That's why. Oh, I might feel bad. I'll wash out my yoghurt pot. I'll throw that in the bin. I'll bang Lenny Henry 10 quid every couple of years or whatever it is when it's on the telly, and then I can go about my life wondering whether humanity is slightly happier or sad according to this fucking ridiculous scale, when in truth, most people in this world, life is fucking hard, right? Beyond anything that you could imagine. And that is why I find it difficult
and you have to ask yourself why. So why is it so hard? Because there's power, because there's greed, because there's power, because power is perceived to be money, money is perceived to be power. And I think we've hit a point where the models that we've got around the world, i.e. you've got people that exist in this world that have, I know you're going to say this has always happened, but you've got people that exist in this world that, how much money do you need? How much money do we need to live, to survive, to be? You've got 90 years, call it, you've got 90 years here on this planet, and you're going to leave a legacy to your family. How much do you need? And the capitalist model, you never see our Chancellor stand up at a budget and go, it's okay, we've got enough. There's always a
Well, because
desire
there's a
for more.
significant amount of people in this country that have fucking not got enough. No, the reason is because
Correct.
there's a significant. I think you are in as am I, right? You are in a bit of a bubble.
Yeah.
You live on the very
Yeah, I agree
edge
with that.
or near, and were born near to one of the great financial industrial centres of the modern world. Right? That is a
By way of
fact.
London.
Right? And you get. Yeah,
By way of London, you mean? Yeah. Great, yeah.
Right, and you get all the benefits of that. For in return, what did you do? And what did I do? We just popped out, just right. Maybe 20 years here or there or whatever. Maybe 40 years earlier.
We probably had the
you'd have
best
been
times
blown up in a. Well, maybe not. We don't know yet. But
I'd say we had good times.
Yeah, but you're saying, oh, how much is enough? How much is enough? There are people, nurses, who can't get to the end of the fucking month without going to a food bank, right?
Exactly.
They need
so
more.
This is my point. Why?
They need more.
Yeah, absolutely. So our capitalist model has failed then, hasn't it?
Yeah, well, you get no argument from me on that.
No. So where does this come from? And what does the padded cell look at? What does it signpost? A more conscious approach to that. And a more conscious approach to that through understanding workplace culture, understanding what we can do within our workplaces and within our homes and within our lives to be able to enhance ourselves, so enhance self, to be able to then be a better place, be a better person in the other areas we exist in, which is work, family, and with our friends.
So I think this is a great microcosm of what. So I'm, despite my protestations, I'm actually a big supporter of this. But I think this conversation is reflective of where the danger lies. We've been rattling on here for nearly 2 hours, and we've finally got to a small kernel of what you actually want to achieve is basically to help people be a little bit nicer as bosses, as whoever it is, right? But it's wrapped up in all this fucking bullshit about humanity evolving to a level of 207 for the first time. It's just obfuscating real good stuff with this pseudo-intellectual bollocks that it doesn't need. Now, I'm happy for, you should use it as a like, everyone needs a philosophical framework, but you're making that the headline rather than the foundation. And I find that more difficult to deal with.
I think I know you're right. And I do you know what? I do. One of the biggest challenges that we've got in the padded cell that we do a lot of work on. I've got 4 people that work alongside me doing life science consulting. Like, we're doing a lot of work to write stuff and to write it in a way that is that anybody can understand and anybody can relate to. It's not even just about understanding, it's about relating. That's the real key of it. Where we've ended up is kind of, I've gone on this journey, as I've explained. In the journey that I've gone on, understanding consciousness, understanding Carl Jung, doing lots of reading, doing lots of understanding. At the end of the day, I'm a fucking Sparky. But I decided to go and try and try and understand it so that I could create this. I believe what started off as something that was going to be a breakfast club, that this was going to be a breakfast, meet up in the morning, group of business people that I know over 20 years in business, and talk about various subjects that are going on in the world of work, in the work culture of work, to enable things to potentially change. But where I suppose the padded cell became something a little bit more unique was when it expanded into a lived experience, my own lived experience. To then discuss that lived experience with professionals in the world of psychiatry, life science, philosophy, and to read, we recognised that there are basically 4 rooms in which we exist within. And those 4 rooms are our self, how we manage ourself, our lineage, what shapes our conditioning from an ancestral perspective, our outputs, what our achievements are, what our work is, what we make of our lives, and our others, our circle, our friends, the people we choose to have into our life, and the people that we choose to not have in our life. And what we do is we start off with, so we've created, you heard at the beginning, emotional currency. So you might even turn the podcast off here, but let's go with it.
Go on.
So we've got soul tokens and shadow chips. He just kept a straight face, actually. So, and where?
Well, look, I don't want you to think that I'm against all this. I'm not. But I will challenge some of the woo pseudo intellectual shit.
Good.
And I want to strip that out because some of it is. I don't think it's. I mean, what the fuck do I know? But it doesn't serve what you're trying to
appear necessary.
Yeah, but as I say,
fair enough.
If that is like, if you've got a Carl Jungian foundation to this, fine. But as I say, you're making it the headline rather than the foundation. And I don't get like if these metaphors help people visualize, what they're doing and become more conscious and aware, I'm all for it. But it's got to be grounded in something, and I think sometimes it veers into mystic woo stuff. Fine, again, if that gives you anyone comfort, go for it. I mean, it's not only me, but it's then
some people it will,
as
and some people it don't. Yeah, that's right.
And exactly. If you think of the demographic that you're trying to reach out to, are they going to be at first receptive to any of this?
I would be very careful about going out there, and I'm talking about this obviously in here, and we've been doing a lot of talking. I'm very mindful of that, and it, there is a lot to get out. Where does it end up leading to? What is the padded cell? So it's a gamification process that enables people to go inside and understand how their emotions are functioning. That enables them to balance their life through those 4 pillars, those 4 rooms, and those 4 rooms being what make up the padded cell. And it's a metaphoric place inside every one of us, that's individual to each one of us. And if I said to you, let's do it with you, let's do the game, set the game up with you. So you've got 20 neutral chips, and they're not worth anything in any kind of currency to start off with. You need to place those in balance of your 4 areas of life. So you got work, you got family, you got friends and others, and you got yourself. How do those chips balance up for you?
I'm sorry, I didn't realise you were going to ask me a question then. I think I've got it more or less. I think I've got more or less it right at the moment. I'm actually going to start trying to play some family.
What is right?
Well, in balance. I think I've got a.
Okay. So if you could just share, if I said, go on, we'll share what you. If I do you want me to share mine first?
Yeah, go for it.
So mine is 10. So mine is currently 10 at work. It's still 5 in family, albeit sometimes not there. I'm out there, but I'm always in my family. So 5 in family. 4/3 on self. 1/2 with others and friends.
So how many chips have I got here? Right, 20. So
20.
Yeah, 20 in total. So that's what I've got to spend so far. So I reckon family, I'm going to say 12. Self, no, I'm going to family. I'm going to put that down. I'm not going to. I'm going to say family 8. Family 8. Self is the next one. Probably 6 other. So I'm running out here. So I've got 6 to go. Other 4.
Yeah.
Work
It's hard,
2. I find work very easy at the moment. Work 2, family 8, self 6, others 4.
That's quite an unusual balance. The work 2 is quite unusual for a lot of people. I think a lot of people I ask that of. Like if I was to just use an analytics that I've got, probably got about 40 people's worth of analytics at the moment. Work is always up in the 8s, 7s, 8s, 10s. There's a couple of people who work's been 1 where they've retired or they've just pulled right back. And I think this is, this kind of gives us the example, because what the next sort of stages on from this enable us to do is to then get those emotional currencies. So I was talking to somebody the other day who's 10, they had 10 at work and their workplace is currently making redundancies. But they're working really, really hard. They've been working hard, probably nearing burnout, which you were talking about on your last show as well. And like nearing burnout, and now they've got the fear of, are they going to lose their job? Now, if they've got 50% of their life now has just had a calibrated level of fear injected into it, that is going to get taken home. And that gets taken into, and I know this is just life, but that gets taken into the household. So, and it doesn't, whether it's fear, whether it's shame, whether it's guilt, whatever it might be, when we have a low investment in ourselves, and the order that I get a lot of the time is 8, as I said, 8 to 10 in work, 5-ish, 7-ish, somewhere like around family. And the one that seems to always kind of be quite low, and it isn't with you because I know you're doing a lot of health work and doing a lot of work on yourself, is the self. And where we're encouraging, and what the padded cell is doing, is enabling me to giving people by the physical centre and online, a safe space to go inside and have the courage to balance up what they need to do for themselves so that they are the best version of themselves in work, at home, and with their friends. Not work kind of driving, if you like, what the emotion is in family to then be escaping to do something for self or escaping to do something with others. I'm not saying that happens all over the place, but it's quite common, I believe, in society today. And I think it's driving a huge wedge between marital statistics as well. I know I'm going through a separation myself at the moment, but I also know and speak to quite a number of people that I'm not alone. I know there's always been a lot of people that do separate and divorce, but there seems to be a lot currently because of the pressures in the house of 2 people needing to work, the shifts in the night, many not having time to making the time to do date nights and to do things and to talk to each other and to properly interact with each other. And that's not what we've got our direct family for. Yes, we want our escapes. Yes, we want our workplace. Yes, we want our purpose. Of course we do. But we don't, it's a means to create nice things and to create money and to create a little bit of wealth to enable us to spend those good times with our family. It's not what we live for. I think there's a big, big difference to that. And does the padded cell change that in itself? No. Does it provide a physical place that enables people to come and get in a place like here and be creative? Yes. Does it provide a place where people can do good things with their body to enable them to enhance their body? Yes. And is there a lounge outside there where people can enhance and talk and do things to enhance their mind? Yes. You've got the creative side, enhancing the character. You've got the mind, enhancing the mind lounge, enhancing the mind. And you've got the body balance to enhance the body. And that's the philosophy that we have.
Right, Russ. So if someone likes that and, you know, they want to spend their emotional currency in a slightly different way, how can they access the padded cell, either physically or online?
Oh, two ways. So online through Circle. So Circle is a channel that we've created or that we're creating, which we expect to be fully live in the next 2 weeks, in the next fortnight. So we're not quite there with it yet, but we're nearly there with that. And that will have on it for quite a low monthly subscription. That will have the regular, and we're doing to start off with bi-weekly podcasts, because in between the other week there's the bouncing off the walls and various other performances and performers and various other recordings that will go on from the padded cell that will be part of the footage that will be subscribed to. And then in there is a vault. And in that vault, each of the podcasts that we deliver will have a write-up of information explaining calibrated levels and maps of consciousnesses and quantum mechanics.
I'll be sure to read that particular bit as well. I'm
sure you will. That's right.
I'm going to put all that information in the show notes. So if you are interested in that, go to the show notes. You'll have all the information there. Get over to the padded cell, check it out as well, and we'll have Russell back on in a few weeks or months or whenever is most convenient. Might even film some podcasts from the padded cell itself. Really looking forward to that. In the meantime, let us know what you think. Get in touch with Dad's Got Another Tattoo at gmail.com or leave us a message on social media. Dad's Got Another Tattoo as well. Apologies from Richard for his internet connection. But until then, I just want to thank Russ for all his time today. It's been really interesting chat. And we will leave it there for now and say see you later. Goodbye.